when his debut may be. James Harden, he participated in his third practice this morning with the 76ers. He went through scrimmages for the first time. You can see video from earlier today here. And head coach Nick Nurse, he said he's still uncertain the status of Harden and several other players. He didn't say who exactly, so we're going to keep an eye on that for Sunday's preseason game in Boston as the team continues to ramp up to prepare for the regular season. So Kendrick Perkins, as promised, how important is it that Harden gets into this preseason action as soon as possible for the 76ers?
Well, it's very important, and he have to help the Sixers help him, meaning these preseason games, he got to go out there and show that he's in great shape. We already know what he brings to the table as far as him being able to create for others and still be an effective scorer. But outside of that, we know he wants out. And the only way you can get out is by doing the right thing and being a professional and showcasing to the rest of the world that you're in great shape and that your mind is in the right place.
Well, Perk, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about something. Because you know what? Football's in season. So they're only in week 5 and they're talking about the preseason. Now the NBA's here. Now we're talking about the preseason. Look, the preseason has breadcrumbs. You have to follow the breadcrumbs. A lot of the success that you see from your team or failure happens in different ways. Now look, the 2012 Golden State Warriors. I was on this team. I didn't play very much, but you know what they did in the preseason? They went 6-2. And let me express to you, Mark Jackson said, hey, look, there is a culture of losing here. We don't have 82 games. We've got 90 games. We have to go out and compete against every single team every single night. That's what he did from the start of preseason to help change the culture in Golden State. And that was the first year that they made it to the second round. That was the explosion of the Golden State Warriors. They took preseason very, very seriously. Now, give me another one. Give me another team. Pop it up there, champ. They're gonna shop for it. Pop it up. All right. Now the Lakers, 21-22. They're like, oh, okay, 0-6. We do not care about the preseason. We're just gonna rest everybody. And then look. Yes, they had a long year. Yes, they had the old guys, but they never got it together. 33-49. So again, yes, there's a big 10-year gap, but when you start to look at how important preseason is, there are breadcrumbs like this littered throughout the season. Let me give you one more. Let me bring it to current day, ladies and gentlemen. If you're like, oh, Richard, that stuff is old. Why are you bringing up old stuff? You know what? The 2022-2023 Kings, what did they do? They went 4-0 in the preseason. Why? Because they approached it like, hey, our season starts today. We need to be locked in now. If we're going to change the culture and make the postseason for the first time in 16 years, then we need to change what we're doing. So, credit Mike Brown. He showed up and said, hey, you guys are competing every single game of the preseason. And what did they do? 48-34, they were the surprise team. So, yes, there is a mixture of how important preseason is, but there are breadcrumbs of how teams approach this, and then you see the end of their season. So I like what the Kings did last year, and I think if you're a young team, if you're an experienced team, there is no preseason. You're locked in the whole time trying to win every game, teaching your guys that that's the energy.
Right, because sometimes it's the young teams that need to do that to see how this group is going to fit together. But even veteran teams, I was up in Golden State yesterday, and Klay Thompson said, this might be the most important preseason of my career because he wants to get back to how he was, particularly through the first 3 championships. He knows they're going to need to integrate Chris Paul into this lineup. Janae, who are you watching that needs to have just an excellent preseason for those breadcrumbs that Richard talked about?
Well, the gargantuan trade of Damian Lillard. That's a Stanford word. Damian Lillard joining Giannis Antetokounmpo in the Bucks really overcovered, and overlooked the aspect that we have a super team in Phoenix that has great expectations, the Suns. And I look at this and I'm like, are we super teamed out? Because on paper, these 3 guys are phenomenal. They're phenomenal. The only aggregation of top 10 scorers as a trio, Beal, Book, and KD. And so I look at the preseason, and I keep that same energy, Richard.
Yeah?
Because they're going to have to figure it out. The expectation is for them to be sensational. I mean, look at these buckets. These are instant buckets. Each guy had, 26 points per game? And so I know we got so excited with the big trades, but under the radar, the Phoenix Suns have great expectations. And I want to see that from the jump because that's what it's going to take for them to really build that confidence over the course of the season.
Well, particularly because we don't do, I know there's divisions in basketball. We don't really do divisions. But when you look at the Pacific Division, the Clippers, the Suns, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Kings, who is the worst team
divisions?
As a four-time Atlantic Division champion, we do divisions.
In that division, the Suns got to come out the gate. This is football season. We're still trying to mix metaphors a little bit here. Perk, who are you watching the closest in the preseason, and which division are they in?
It's a run Perk's
Well, I
division.
don't know the division, but I'm actually watching the conference of the Western Conference, and I'm watching the Clippers, right? I need to see how Kawhi Leonard look. Kawhi Leonard look in the preseason. Is he healthy? I need to see how Paul George look in the preseason. Is he healthy? I need to see how those two mix with Russell Westbrook. Is he going to have the ball in his hands? Is he going to be the true point guard they need him to be? Is Marcus Morris? We know he's been disgruntled over there with the Clippers. Is he going to buy into being who he needs to be and sacrifice some of his shot attempts? I need to see it all for the Clippers.
Well, so it's interesting because I'm just looking at my notes from our pre-show meeting, and the Clippers are an excellent answer, Perk, but I was expecting you to talk about the Celtics. That's what you said earlier. So what changed?
Perk, they asked me to say that. Perk, they asked me, and I was like, no, I'm not bringing up old.
Hold on. Let me tell you what changed. I thought it was supposed to be a segment that was called Button Up. Richard was supposed to button up his shirt.
No, don't do the opposite,
and it was called Button Up.
Don't do the opposite,
And so
Friday,
we was
ladies and
talking
gentlemen.
about, I thought we was going to talk about what team needed to button up and get their stuff together. Then all of a sudden it switched. So I had to change with the topic.
Okay, look, now you guys have elevated to the level where we can start breaking down things a little bit more. We're going to get into detail about the Golden State Warriors. And our segment, Court Work, is we're going to show you. So we're going to show you a pistol action, a.k.a. 21, an up-tempo series that uses 5-out spacing, ball screens, and flare screens typically found in transition or early offense. So when you see a guy dribbling up the floor and he's doing pistol, he's doing pistol, right?
Yeah.
So let's roll the tape. Let's show him pistol.
And typically in transition, it's drag, which is a post to a guard screen. Pistol is guard-to-guard action.
So now watch this. You got Harrison Barnes handling. You got Steph Curry, you got Draymond. So this is the pistol action. You get there. Now, this is what their offense does. Their offense creates confusion. It's not this magical offense. They have great players, and they cause a lot of confusion. So here, two people go with Harrison on that back cut. Steph gets an open shot. Look how pissed off Chris Paul is. He's like, damn it. Why? Because they create confusion. The more movement they have. Now, look, this is where they're working on that. They're working on the toss-back pistol action, mainly because they want confusion. That's all their offense is that they have a lot of movement, they have a lot of one-off plays, a lot of screenings, a lot of slipping. And so we showed you the pistol action, and that was, again, that was a little bit. But we're going to show you another piece. It's a little floppy action. So we got our court work team here. Janae, ultimate defender, she's going to play defense on me, and then we're going to express to you the confusion. Now, Steph and Clay are down there. They look about a little different, but they're about the same height, so they're fine. Steph and Clay's down there. Now, we're talking about how Chris Paul and Steph and Clay, just their entire offense is going to work together. We showed the 21, that's the pistol, because it creates confusion. If you mess up that back screen, Harrison Barnes gets a lob. If two guys stay there, then Steph gets a shot. So now, these two individuals, Steph and Clay, we're going to go pin down. This is a floppy action. You see them coming up the court, it's floppy. Now, these guys pin down. Go to your spots. This is Steph Curry. You have to stunt to Steph. You have to stunt. You might have to get a stunt from the big. That's right there. So now if you have a stunt, now go, throw it. So now this is where Chris Paul, this is where Chris Paul is that dude. Because now he's got an open lane.
And
because
I'm late.
His man had to help. So now Chris Paul is what? The best pull-up shooter of any guard we've ever seen. Point guard. What else is he? He's got one of the best floaters you've ever seen. What else does he have? He's got one of the best lobs. If one of these guys slices, if that's Wiggins over there, if that's Draymond to a back cut, you have that. You know what else you have? You have a guy that is top 5 in all assists, 9.5 assists per career. Now, boom, because it's two men on the backside. So you're going to get either shot or you're going to get swing. So that's Wiggins, that's Clay on the backside. You got to help on Steph, and you have one of the best of all time floor generals picking apart the defense from what he wants. That's where Steph is special. That's where Steph is different, because he creates so much space from his movement and from his attention that it opens up things for everyone. That's why Draymond, that's why Chris Paul are great facilitators.
And I think there's this common assumption that, hey, these teams that are successful run these extravagant plays. No, the simpler the better. Less is more. So that's pistol action, that's drag screens. But what makes Golden State so unique is that now they've added another facilitator that just literally knows knows how to slice and dice. All it takes is a quick step, and he's got the advantage.
Yeah, so that's it. That's why when people are talking about how would they fit, make sure you understand. When Steph first broke the record in 2012, Jarrett Jack was the point guard, and Steph and Clay were doing a lot of that floppy action.
Days.
So this is what they were doing, and this is what they're going to do with Chris Paul. Now, does he start? That's a different question, ladies and gentlemen.
He does in preseason, at least for now. At least for now. But then you're going to have to make, what does E4 say? Choices.
Oh, choices.
Choices are going to need to be made. We're going to see the Warriors in preseason action with Chris Paul, our first chance to get a taste of what their offense is going to look like.